building a better Bay Area for a safe and secure future. This is ABC-7 News.
Hi there, I'm Kristen Sze. Welcome to our daily program called Getting Answers. We're asking experts your question every day at 3 to get answers for you in real time. So today we'll get you details into the state's new smartphone tool that notifies you if you've been exposed to COVID-19. It's been run as a pilot program at UC Berkeley for the past 3 weeks, and we'll talk to an official there about what they've learned. We're also committing coverage to the state of the arts in the Bay Area. The president of the Aquarium of the Bay joins us to talk about how you can still go there virtually. But first, 4 Bay Area counties and the city of Berkeley are essentially on modified lockdown again as of today. Alameda, Contra Costa, Santa Clara, San Francisco, and the city of Berkeley. Marin County will begin the restrictions tomorrow. So joining us now to talk about its effectiveness, infectious disease specialist at UCSF, Dr. Monica Gandhi, and State Assembly member representing the San Jose area, Ash Kalra. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to dive into whether the new restrictions make sense. But before we do that, the governor held a briefing this morning and announced alarming new numbers. Dr. Gandhi, which numbers really caught your attention?
You know, it's absolutely true that we're in a surge. We have increased cases, and many areas in the state have increased hospitalizations. This is not true. We haven't yet reached in the Bay Area. This was a prophylactic move on Friday to prevent us from getting into the kind of criteria that Governor Newsom had explained of 15% ICU capacity. So we were not there. And it's a prophylactic move. And I think it's absolutely true. We have to do something about it. We have to restrict activities. And so now the question now becomes, what makes sense, what gets restricted, and what doesn't make sense.
That's absolutely true. I mean, many things are closing down again. Indoor entertainment, outdoor dining, outdoor playgrounds. That really caught a lot of people by surprise. Assemblyman Ash Kalra, I want to ask you, you co-authored a letter that you guys sent to the governor about playgrounds. What is your argument about that? What are you asking for?
We're asking for some flexibility and some allowances to allow families to take their children to the playground in a way that is safe, sanitary. At the end of the day, you know, there's so many families, including in my district, that live in multifamily housing and apartment complexes. They don't have private open space. Many don't have cars. It's not as simple as them just to drive to a regional park or to the beach. And it's for the both mental and physical health of our children that they be allowed to access playgrounds in a way that's safe. And I think parents will be cognizant of the fact that they need to keep their kids away from other families. But I think that overall, I really hope that we can find a path forward to allow for families to take their children to the playgrounds.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Gandhi, what do you think? Is there an equity piece here? I think you're a mom, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I wonder if you think, okay, so based on the data, I'm sure you're monitoring the risk versus benefit very much in this case. What does the data say about outdoors, playgrounds, kids, and transmission?
So the data has never shown increased risk from outdoor playgrounds. Why? Because they're ventilated, they're outside, and we have mask rules. And so even little kids, and you'll see this in the playground, they are 2 and above and they're wearing masks. And also we had social distancing guidelines when the outdoor playgrounds opened in October to have this many kids on the swing, this many kids on the slides. And so they have not been a place of transmission. And we all have learned by now the importance of ventilation and being outside, but you have to balance with just the pathogen. So we just have the virus, and then we have everything else that's going on in society. And the mental health effects for children, like Assemblyman Carla says, like we cannot we have to have that in the equation. And there is an equity issue because some people have backyards and some people have fancy ways to have play dates and have their children see people. And there are places where you don't have that backyard. And that is usually an equity issue. It's usually people who are more poor and they rely on our public spaces. So I can think the science agrees with what you came up with, lawmakers, as well.
Well, Assemblyman Kalra, are there other aspects of the new stay-at-home that you think are perhaps a lot more pain than there is gain? I know a lot of outdoor restaurants probably in your district are saying, look, what are we going to do here?
It's really tough right now. I think that we have to go into a situation where we have to stop some of the conduct and activities we've been doing. And I think that restaurants are still available for takeout and for delivery. I think the distinction between that and the playgrounds is that if we're telling people to stay home, we also want them to get exercise. We want them to get outside. I think that as long as we provide some small business assistance in particular to the restaurants to help them get through this period, to help the workers continue to work and still allow for takeout and delivery, I think we can find that balancing act. But I think that the studies have shown from what I've seen that some of the restaurant activity and the socializing has caused an issue in terms of the spread. And I certainly rely on folks like Dr. Gandhi and their expertise in terms of informing us. And so I rely on the public health department of the state. They do a great job. And I do think that at least for the next 2 to 3 weeks, as tough as it might be, I agree with that aspect of the order.
Dr. Gandhi, what is your thought about outdoor dining? I mean, we understand that the transmissions, bulk of it coming from indoor interactions, mixing of households. I mean, isn't there a way to limit that without saying no outdoor dining at all?
So actually, we have the exact same position on this. I don't think the data has shown that outdoor dining is driving it. On the other hand, it is true that people are socializing in ways that, like going to the restaurant or meeting at home and then going to the restaurant. And if we could provide support for outdoor businesses or those who had established outdoor dining and do it for a short period of time, it could help. So I think we're completely aligned on this. What makes sense for exercise, for mental health, and then what can be sort of voluntary, and can we provide support for a short period of time until we go back to reopening outdoor dining?
Yeah.
I think the main thing that people are worried about is the mental health effects of being away from each other during the holidays. And I think safe outside activities with small family groups has been safe. I think the ventilation is there, and I think we can't underestimate the impact of loneliness.
Yeah, the other thing I want to touch on with you is vaccines, because today the governor said the first batch of vaccines will be coming next week and that there will be over 2 million doses in December for California. So let's talk about allocation. I think most people understand and want healthcare workers to get them first. But are there some healthcare workers, for example, if they've already had COVID, that perhaps should be left out? And are there perhaps other groups that should fit in there and get the first batch?
So it's true that I agree with immunologists who have actually said recently that if we're really allocating, someone who's had COVID can probably wait because they will have immunity for a little while and they can get kind of a boost of their immune response by the vaccine. So if I had had COVID, I would have stepped back and said, okay, give it to me later. So healthcare workers, though, we all generally agree with, and the vulnerable populations, elderly, and their staff in nursing homes. But the one thing I want to say is these vaccines are amazing. They are so exciting and so hopeful. And so when we're like thinking about everything that happened on Friday, and this has been a really depressing time, it will end. I mean, as early as starting in December, we're going to get vaccination. And so I do agree with healthcare workers about COVID waiting a bit.
Yeah, and this is where, I'm wondering in terms of the priority list, where do teachers rank on that in terms of getting inoculated? Because there is growing concern, as you both mentioned, with regard to the playground, that people are angry, that there's an equity issue, and most public school kids cannot go back to school, whereas a lot of private schools are doing in person, and many of the kids are now failing. Look, what can be done? And Assemblyman, Kalra, I want to ask you, I mean, isn't there something the legislature can do to try to get the parties to come together and work on this? I recognize that we have this decentralized, 1,000 school districts thing, and the governor has been kind of willing to let that decentralization take its course. But what do you think? Isn't there anything that can be done?
I agree completely. There's an equity issue here between public and private schools, and even amongst public schools, depending on what neighborhood you're in. There's a digital divide issue, including in places like San Jose, the capital of Silicon Valley. We're seeing a lot of families and a lot of students not have access to the right equipment. And on top of that, not all families and not all parents have the luxury to stay at home and monitor their students as they're going to school. So absolutely, we need to safely open the schools as soon as we can. And so I would support teachers being near the top of the list of getting vaccinations, because I'm not going to be the one to tell teachers that you have to go into the classroom if you're not vaccinated. It's unfair to them and their families. And so I think when you look at a components, we really need to get our students, especially in public schools, back in school as soon as possible. So I would completely support vaccines getting to teachers as soon as possible, especially in the public school environment.
All right, Assemblymember Kalra and also Dr. Monica Gandhi of UCSF, thank you both so much for your insight and your time today. Appreciate the conversation.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we'll take a short break, but up next, an in-depth look at the state's new COVID-19 exposure notification tool that Governor Newsom announced today using your smartphone, how it works and how it's been going at UC Berkeley, where they've been testing it out when we come back. All right. Thank you, folks. We'll be back in 1 minute. With our viewers.
Sure.
Hi there, everybody. Sure. I am back. Just want to give you a few numbers while we wait for our next guest to be connected. Governor Newsom in his briefing today mentioned that we are averaging about 25,000 new cases a day now for COVID. Hospitalization numbers also quite disturbing, up 72% over the past 2 weeks, and test positivity is at 8.4%. Keep in mind that we were at like 2-3% just a month or two ago. So this is a really rapid rise, which is definitely causing a lot of worries and hence dramatic action. All right, joining us now is our next guest who is logging in. He is with the University of California at Berkeley, Guy Nicolette. How's it going?
Well, I think you said it in your intro. Things are surging a little bit. We've been lucky on campus that it hasn't surged quite as dramatically, but we know that the surge is in progress.
Yeah, no, that is something that's very concerning to all of us. And I thank you for your time. Right now, you're on Facebook Live, where we're streaming during the commercial breaks, but we'll be coming back on air on Channel 7 in about 15 seconds. So just hang on tight. By the way, I really like your virtual background.
Oh, thank you.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2.
And welcome back. Governor Newsom announced today that starting Thursday, a smartphone app will be available for all Californians that will enable you to get alerted if you've spent time near somebody who tests positive for COVID. The California Notify app was first tested and used in the University of California system. Joining us now to talk more about it is UC Berkeley's Assistant Vice Chancellor for University Health Services, Guy Nicolette. Thank you so much, Guy, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, because a lot of people have questions about this app. Of course, the UC Berkeley community has been using it since November 16th. How did UC become part of this pilot program to test out the technology?
Well, it's my understanding that UC San Diego led the charge on that, and ultimately 5 campuses joined the pilot. And I think, part of the impetus to do that was that we had quite a bit of folks still on campus that we could tap into, and I think that's bearing itself out in the numbers. I think UC credits about 200,000 folks that have joined in one way or the other, either the Apple or the Google platform, and I think at UC Berkeley we've had somewhere around 20,000 sign up for the notification system. And so obviously the more that join up, the more that participate, the better it works.
Yeah, about 20,000 UC Berkeley out of a community of how many people? Like 70,000-ish or something between students and faculty?
Right. We count it somewhere in the 60 to 70,000 range.
Yes, that was a good guess on my part. I still remember from my UC Berkeley days. So I want to ask you, basically, I got the option today, right? I know you have to opt in, and I did it today on my iPhone. It's very easy. We have some video of that to show our viewers. In the meantime, can you kind of walk us through it on the iPhone, what you need to do?
Great. I'm certainly no tech expert, but on the iPhone, it's as easy as going to your settings, and there's a slider for exposure notification system.
There it is.
turn on that slider, and it verifies what county you're in, what state you're in, and then it starts to verify your county. And if it's enabled in that location, you're all set. That's all you really need to do.
Okay, so then basically, what would the notification instruct you to do if it later determines that you have been near someone who tested positive?
Yeah, there's a really helpful 1 or 2 page PDF that was developed, and it leads you through the hypothetical story. I don't remember their names, but I think they were Alice and Bob.
It was Alice and Bob, yeah.
Okay, good. You've seen it. They, are sitting at a park bench or sitting at some location, and they have a protracted conversation.
Yeah, in fact, you know what, Guy, I have the Google video they put out. I know it's a little different for
perfect.
iPhone and Android, but let's go ahead and show that first.
For every phone that's opted in, our technology disguises your identity by generating a random sequence of numbers that change every few minutes. Then, using Bluetooth, anytime your phone detects another phone close by that's also opted in, the two exchange those random numbers. If in the future someone's positive for COVID-19, they can report that positive result in their app. Any phones that had exchanged random numbers in the last 14 days will receive a notification that they may have been exposed to COVID-19 without revealing their identity.
So then you find out, and Guy, I guess the point of this is if you know you had been near somebody who later tests positive, then you would either quarantine or go get tested yourself. Is that what you encourage your student community to do?
Yeah, the app notifies you once that notification comes up. It then tells you essentially what to do. And for our subscribers, for those folks connected to UC Berkeley, it gives them instructions on who to call. Our contact tracing team then connects with them, and then it becomes a bit more of a traditional, contact tracing situation where you're ultimately told to either quarantine, isolate, or get tested, depending on the situation.
The toolkit. It's one tool in really helping contain COVID. It's not the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point that really this augments traditional contact tracing. Traditional contact tracing is really heavily reliant on the art of skillful questions and kind of relying or trust in the veracity of the answers given, and then just diligent work kind of following the timeline and contacting those with significant exposure. The app adds a kind of a layer on top of it. It doesn't replace it, but it adds a layer on top of it. And the value comes really, in my opinion, from contact tracing the folks that the case doesn't know, basically strangers. So it's helping identify folks that couldn't be identified in a typical case investigation.
In the 3 weeks that UC Berkeley has had it, have you noticed any glitches or any false positives or anything like that?
No, we've only given out 2 keys. So, not a whole lot yet, but we're expecting more as the surge goes. Unfortunately, with it will come more folks that, will get more experience using the app. There likely will, just with any technology like this, even with traditional contact tracing, there are going to be some false positives that we are going to unnecessarily quarantine or at least contact folks that really weren't significantly exposed. But that's how this system, that's how the entire system goes. And I think that with refinements in the technology and us learning how it really works and how, where it's not best deployed, we'll continue to refine it and get better and better and better about, who we really do ultimately isolate and quarantine.
That Google video that we showed made the point, and the governor did as well, that this doesn't track people's identities or locations. But clearly some people, judging on social media comments, are worried about that aspect of privacy. Was that a concern for the campus community?
Oh, absolutely. We wrestled with that quite a bit because all of us value the privacy, and certainly on the medical side, we're bound by several laws, HIPAA included, that really reinforces that need to question privacy and security when you're thinking about new technologies. But it was shown to us a number of times, and with a number of experts in privacy and security, they felt like this was about as secure as you could get with this type of system.
All right, so no sign of any privacy breaches. Overall, how are things going at UC Berkeley? It is a huge campus, and I recognize most students have not been on campus, but how is it going? And then do you think there's a chance that people will come back in greater numbers next semester in January?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we've actually, I think through a combination of planning, some luck, and really being diligent in our contact tracing, the on-campus experience has been lower risk and lower exposure than the community. So our positivity rate up until Thanksgiving was somewhere in the 0.2 or 0.3% range. And I think we cumulatively tested, 12,000 unique individuals with 60 or 70 or 80,000 tests. Mm-hmm. So we're doing a lot of testing. We really haven't found many positive, which is good. The students are great. And even on campus, living on campus in dorms, which we were really worried about, there's almost no sign of transmission that's happened in the dorms, or very, very little. So with that experience that we've had, that led us to believe that we could probably handle, we really restricted campus census quite a bit and dorm census quite a bit. We could handle a little bit more, and it's been my belief that we could actually handle more than we handled in fall and still have low positivity rates. Well, and this app would only help.
Well, Guy, I realize there are a lot of unknowns about the future and we don't know everything, but it certainly sounds like you're moving in the right direction. And I'm glad to hear that my Cal, community is still making the right choices. So that's good to hear. Guy Nicolette, thank you so much for your time and insight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. All right, folks, we'll take a short break. And when we come back, we'll take on the state of the arts in the Bay Area. All right, I do want to thank Guy Nicolette for joining us today. Very busy as he manages a lot of the health services aspects at UC Berkeley. And they have been testing this California Notify app that the governor announced today for the rest of us who can then download it this week, or on your iPhone, it's not even a download. You just go in settings and enable the exposure notification, and then that's it. It's as simple as that. You tell them what state, what count. No, you don't have to say which county, just which country, which state. And then that's all you have to do. And then it will know if you've been near another phone with an opted-in user and that user later tests positive. Then they kind of say, hey, I've been positive. Again, you don't know who it is at all, but they will know and notify the phones that have been spending more than 15 minutes within a 6-foot distance from that particular phone with a positive link. And then you can decide what the right thing to do is, because you have the information. Then oh, I better go into quarantine, or I better get a test. I better not go to this party. Not that anyone should right now anyway, but it just helps you make better choices and fully informed choices. All right, taking a look at some of the questions. Oh, Randy, what is the app's name? On Android, I think you want to look for the California Notify app. On Apple, if you have an iPhone, Randy, you don't even need to look for the app. Just go in your settings, and then you scroll down. Here, we've got it on the screen for you. Just under Emergency SOS, see exposure notifications. You click on that, tap on that, and then, you say yes, notifications, continue. And then after you do continue, you choose U.S., and then you choose California. That's it. That's all you have to do.
6, 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And welcome back. ABC-7 is committed to building a better Bay Area, and that includes celebrating and preserving our arts and culture, even during these times. All week, we're looking at the state of the arts in the Bay Area to see how these cherished cultural institutions are holding up and how you can help them out. Joining us right now to talk more about this is President of the Aquarium of the Bay at Pier 39 in San Francisco, George Jacob. George, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Excellent. That's good to hear. Now, you run just a fabulous institution, the Aquarium there by Pier 39, and right now it is closed for in-person visits, but tell us what is still available to people who want to get the experience.
Sure. I think as soon as the city went into shelter in place, we changed gears and we started creating a number of programs online. So we have our virtual tours, we have our Facebook live streams, we have behind the scenes tours, we have a number of e-learning modules. So there's a number of activities for children and educators.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about the aquarium. I think a lot of people don't know that the treasure that's there at Pier 39. What can people see?
Well, the aquarium has been there for about 24 years. Next year, we are celebrating our 25th anniversary. And each year, we welcome 500,000 to 750,000 visitors. But this year has been different, as you know. We do hold 24,000 animals in our collections and about 186 species. Some of them are terrestrial, but most of the animals are from the San Francisco Bay. So our live cams will actually show you our collections. You can find us on social media for daily posts and stories about our 24,000 animals and what's going on at the Aquarium of the Bay when we are closed. We are also on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and on Twitter.
And you also have a diving program, right? What do the divers do?
We do. So this is a new program that we started quite recently, and it's a dive certification course. The first cohort group had a successful dive certification last month, and the dives usually happen in Monterey. And the next round is currently enrolling. It is to train citizen scientists with specialty certifications, including peak performance, buoyancy, fish ID, underwater digital photography. And you can get details at aquariumofthebay.org/dive.
Wow, what a unique opportunity. All right, so if people just want to help the aquarium, where can they go for that? We have 10 seconds.
Well, they can certainly go to GoFundMe. They can buy our face masks online. We have an eco store online. They can show their support by buying our beautiful face masks. But GoFundMe, aquariumofthebay.org.
All right, George Jacob, thank you so very much. We'll continue this conversation on Facebook Live. Got to take a break on the air.
Thank you.
All right, don't go away, George, because I want to hear more about these masks.
All right.
Do you have one there?
I do, actually.
Oh, great. I want to see it.
See if I can get it.
Let's check it out. Check it out.
Sure.
Okay. You're still on Facebook Live, not on air, but let's take a look. Oh, look at that. Are those... I love it, because those are the sea lions, right? Like the kind that sit over there at Pier 39, your home?
That's right. That's right. So we designed 5 different masks, actually 6 different masks, celebrating our animals. And this is one of the most popular ones.
Wow. You know, sea life conservation, is that taking a hit like so many other efforts are right now during the pandemic?
It has taken some hit. With the PPE, there has been an increased plastic production.
Oh.
So recycling will be a greater challenge looking ahead. Of course, there is an ongoing microplastics pollution in the San Francisco Bay. And then there are some other pollutants like the mic acid, PCB pollution, mercury, and so on and so forth. But that being said, I think there is a new optimism with the possibility of the U.S. joining the Climate Accord. And I believe that some of these initiatives that have taken a backseat in the recent years will again gain center stage and forefront.
You know what? I had not even thought about that. Thank you for educating us about that. Yet another problem associated with COVID. But I'm glad you guys are on top of it. Aquarium of the Bay. I love walking by sometimes during my lunch break back in the old days before COVID. And, you know, sometimes you have that wheel out and you can spin it and get a little coupon or prize to visit. It's just a great place to visit. So congratulations on all that you do.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. Talk soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Hey, Johnny Sky, thank you for your very kind comment. I do appreciate it.
3, 2, 1.
And that's going to do it for today. Thank you for joining us on this interactive show, Getting Answers. We talked about the new stay-at-home orders and the controversy over closing playgrounds. And we explored everything about the state's new smartphone program to notify you if you've been exposed to COVID-19. We'll be here every day at 3 o'clock on air and on live stream. See you tomorrow. All right, thank you.